So that was kind of a rough loss for the Jazz. Not the end of the world. The Nets are a good team. I kind of forgot how ridiculously good Kevin Durant is on the offensive end, and he really showed it. Tonight he was like 15 for 23 from the field with 37 points. He was having whatever he wanted. Like I said, it's not the end of the world for the Jazz. They're still solidly in that fourth seed, so it's looking more and more likely that they'll be able to retain home court advantage for the first round of the playoffs. And with Steph Curry out, they might be able to slip into that third spot. I think they're 2.5 games behind the Warriors, who are in that third spot, and I think they're a game and a half above the Mavs. And it's looking less and less likely that they'll slip down to the 6 because there's kind of a fight for that 6th spot. The last I checked, the Timberwolves kind of stole it from the Nuggets, so there's going to be a little bit of a fight out for that, to who can dodge the play-in. So we'll see how that plays out. Playoffs are coming up; they're right around the corner. We need to keep an eye on how the standings are. This is the part of the season where the standings really do matter. So getting into the game, I don't know, this was kind of a weird game for the Jazz. They had some great plays, but overall, it was just you could tell it was Mitchell trying to do everything, and those games are tough because when Mitchell has to do everything, it's like he can't be as efficient because Mitchell in his most efficient games, he's efficient because Gobert is a dunk threat because and in this case Bogey didn't play, he's out. But you have Bogey, you have Conley, you have whoever else you have out there as 3-point threats. And in a game like tonight, the threes weren't really dropping. Clarkson and Conley had pretty decent games from 3. 4 for 8 and 3 for 5. But I mean, yeah, I'm looking at the right numbers. 4 for 8, 3 for 5. Those are great games, but Clarkson, he wasn't super efficient from 2. He was 3 for 11. Conley had a great game. I wish he shot more. He had some nice passes, but this was really the Nets just kind of owned this game. I do want to point out this was kind of disappointing what Gobert did. He only had 4 rebounds and 11 points, which is really strange. Like, you think of the Nets, they're kind of an undermanned team. You look at their rebounders. Durant was the highest with 9. So I don't really know what happened with Gobert not getting rebounds. I will say Claxton. I don't think Claxton will be an all-star ever in his career. I may be wrong. I guess he does have that potential. I just don't think his game will fit into like the new generation of basketball. I think he's going to be an excellent energy guy, and he'll kind of get you what you need, but he'll be one of those 4th or 5th men or coming off the bench centers. I really like him. He played great tonight with 15 points, 4 assists, 6 boards, 2 blocks. He was a fun player to watch. He had some exciting dunks, but yeah. So honestly, I don't have a ton of takeaways from this game for the Jazz. It was just kind of a rough one. This is just one that you kind of need to move on from. One that the Jazz, I know they could have won. They came in hoping they could win, but they just didn't play like they should. And the Nets, I will say the Nets, a lot of people are kind of giving them crap because they're all the way in the 8th seed. They've had injury issues. And granted, I've not seen much of the Nets this season, so I don't have a ton to base it off of. Basing it off of this game, though, they actually look like a pretty decent team. Assuming they can stay healthy, obviously, assuming everyone's healthy, they're a ridiculous roster. But even the players who played tonight, like without Kyrie, without Ben Simmons, Kevin Durant's ridiculous, and they have other players who can make plays. Like it's, a lot of people are kind of knocking on them for their depth, but they have some players who really came out and played. Like if you look at how it's set up now, you have Patty Mills, who He's a baller. He can hit threes. You have, oh boy, ESPN always autoplays those videos. I should just like boycott ESPN. They're literally the worst. But like Seth Curry, great 3-point shooter. Goran Dragic, when Kyrie's healthy, he'll come off the bench. Right now, he's starting. He didn't have a crazy game, but he contributed. He hit some good shots. Um, he had 7 assists. You have Claxton, who I talked about, and then you have some more like Blake Griffin, who he's not going to like. I guess he has the potential to drop 20 if you give him the minutes. He's probably not going to most nights. And then you have like players. I mentioned Claxton. I think that's like the third time I mentioned him. But players like Claxton, who were kind of wild cards coming into the season, who have played great. You have players like Bruce Brown, who he had a great game tonight. His season stats are like fine, but you have these players that are younger players. How Bruce Brown's 25. Younger players are kind of outperforming what people expected from them. So this Nets team, they were fun to watch. I don't know what they're going to be able to do in the playoffs. There's a lot of wild cards, as everyone knows, but they were fun to watch. Like I'm excited to see if they can do anything in the playoffs, like what will happen. And yeah, rough loss for the Jazz. I wish the Jazz won, but it was fun to watch a team like that in the Nets. And I'm not too worried about the Jazz. Like I've kind of accepted where they're at, and I think this is the Jazz team that's probably going to head into the playoffs as soon as we get healthy. I'm not too angry. Like this is one of those games where even the best teams have some off nights like this. Like I don't want to bring this up because this is a bad example for the Jazz, and I don't want to like twist the knife for Jazz fans. But like in the 1998 Finals, I think it was Game 3, the Utah Jazz only scored like 56 points, but they won 2 other games and 3 other game. What was it? It was a 6-game series, so they won 2 games, and 3 other games they were pretty close. So even the best teams can have some off nights. The Jazz tonight, their off night wasn't as bad as that 56-point night back in 98, but it just happens sometimes. So I'm not too worried about this. Let's look at their schedule because I didn't really have much to add after this game. So let's just talk about their schedule moving forward. They do have a pretty tough schedule for the rest of the season. And how many games do they have left? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 10 games left. So final 10, we're getting really close to the playoffs. April 10th is their last game, so we're near the end of March. It's right there. Playoffs are right around the corner. But coming up this week, we have Boston, Charlotte, and Dallas on Sunday. I guess that's next week technically, but I think everyone kind of thinks about it as this week. So none of those are really easy games. Boston is, if we played them earlier in the season, they weren't playing great. Right now, they're just hitting their stride. They're looking like a really good team. Their defense has been excellent. Tatum has had some amazing games. Brown has been stepping it up as well. That's going to be a tough game. It's a fun game. That will be on Wednesday. Charlotte, I'm really hoping the Jazz win that one, but Charlotte's always a wild card. They have some good talent. And Dallas, that's kind of a game that we have circled. The Jazz are fighting for home court advantage against the Mavs. It's looking more and more likely that the Jazz will play the Mavericks in the first round. That's not set in stone, but it's looking like that's what's going to be the case. So that game could decide who gets home court advantage, and that could be in that series. So not only is it a potential playoff preview, but it could have a big impact on who's going to win it. If you watch our episode on Saturday, you'll see, we have both tiebreakers against the Mavs, even if we lose that game. So it doesn't hold tons and tons of weight, but still, like if the Jazz lose that, the Mavs move 1 game closer. Because if you don't know how it works, like a single win is a half a game in the standing. So if you're tied with a team and then you win, you're now half a game above them. And so when you play a team head on, you get a win you lose, you get a loss and they get a win, so that counts as a full game, if that makes sense. So if it's only a game and a half difference, if it's still a game and a half difference on Sunday and the Jazz lose, that moves the Mavs to half a game. Or if they win, it pushes the Jazz into a pretty comfortable 2.5 game lead with 7 games left. So it's going to be tight. We have some tough games. We're playing both LA teams, which debatably probably aren't tough games right now. Golden State, Memphis, Phoenix, all on our schedule. We do have a couple, hopefully what will turn out to be layups like Portland and Oklahoma City. So we'll see how that plays out. I'm excited for the playoffs. Rough one tonight, but I'm hoping the Jazz can turn things around on Wednesday against Boston. So thanks for tuning in. And if you like the video, hit the like button. If you're a Jazz fan, follow wherever you're watching. Like, that's what we talk about exclusively on this channel right now. So if you want more Jazz content, hit that follow or whatever it is on that platform that you're watching. Thanks for tuning in.